Hi, this is Brent Gray with Buckeye Safe Pet, dealer for dog guard out of sight fencing systems. And today I want to talk a little bit about the operation of the T4 transmitter. The T4 transmitter is the unit that's likely located in your garage, and it sends the signal out to the wire, which allows the receiver to grasp or understand pick up the correction signal, I guess is what it is. And it allows that to go off at the right time. At any rate, you'll see that first thing you'll see from the panel is that there's a power light, a loop light, and a fault light. When this power light is green, that means it's on. And when the loop light is red, or on the new units, green, either color, that means it's on. If somebody cuts through your wire, this light will go out, and this whole unit will make an incredibly noisy beeping sound, and you'll be able to hear it even likely from outside your garage. The fault light, this will flicker if there's some electronic problems internally with this unit. So if you see that flickering, give me a shout. That means there could be some internal problems, and with your system under warranty, that should be covered. The correction level is the adjustment that makes the correction level to your dog's collar weaker or stronger. And this pen tool that you see here, there's two ends to it. There's the male end, and if I turn it over, you'll see the female end. They seat into these locations. So the male end goes into the correction level adjustment, and what you do is you seat it in there lightly, and you kind of wiggle it around really lightly, and you'll feel it seat and grab in there. And when that happens, you can slowly turn that to the right to increase the level of the correction for the receiver. It'll make that receiver stronger. Your dog will receive a much higher level of correction. You'll notice that the correction level, if you view this as like a clock dial, and this is noon, it goes from minimum, which is about 7 a.m., to the maximum, which is about 5 p.m. on a clock dial. And with this seated, you can see where the tab of my pen lands. And right now, if you see, my tab is at about noon, right? So if I turn this ever so slightly, it doesn't take much, it can really increase the level of correction that your dog is receiving. Now, what you have to be careful is that you don't want to overturn it past the max. And when I say turn it lightly, the reason I say you want to turn it lightly is because if you go too far, you can go over that maximum and you'll hear it snap. And that means you've damaged this inside of here. When you feel it lightly come to a stop and you can't turn any further, just stop. That means you've gone as far as you can possibly go with that. And if that's how far you go and your dog is still, still not responding, you're as high as you can go. That may mean that your dog needs to go to an upgraded or a higher level collar than what it has if it's not responding to that highest level. As I turn the unit on its side, you'll see that you'll have wires that come out of these two locations here, and they're interchangeable. It doesn't matter which one goes in which. It doesn't matter. I know these are color coded, but it doesn't matter. You can turn the wires around and change the locations, and it'll work just fine. You just need to have continuity and the signal flowing all the way through your yard and then coming back into this unit. Here is the range control next to that. And let me get something to prop this up. So with the range control, you use the female end and you do the same thing, kind of like with the correction control. If I seat the female end over that little diode, you'll feel it kind of stick and grab on there. You can go from the current setting, from where you're set at now, when I would have made the installation, and if you go slightly to the right, increase, that increases the field width. If you go back down to the left, that decreases the field width. Originally, your flags were set at this location. These are kind of representing the flags when I first installed them, and maybe they were about 7 feet apart or so. If I increase that range or that field width, what that does is when I turn that to the right, ever so slightly even, it moves this invisible line in closer towards your yard. When it does this, it does it uniformly on both sides of this line. So if it moves out to here because you've increased it, that means on this side it's also moved out the same distance approximately. So now you would have to replant your flags to retrain your dog at the new location. And maybe you're asking, why would I do this? Why would I increase that from the original setting that maybe Buckeye Safe Pet set it at to this new setting and make this whole thing wider? One of the most popular reasons to do this is because if your dog is easily getting across the line, they're only receiving the correction in this space, okay? This area here. And that may be anywhere from 4 to 6 feet. 2 plus 2 or 3 plus 3 is 4 to 6 feet. But if I increase this, let's say by another foot on each side, well, now this whole distance here might be closer to 8 feet. And what that's doing is it's giving your dog a longer path to run through, and it's going to receive that correction for a longer period of time. And when it does that, it's going to make your dog less likely to run through because it's going to be receiving that correction for a much longer period of time, especially as you increase it and increase it, it's going to have a lot more distance to run through. So when your dog has a lot more distance to run through, it has more time in that correction zone, and in theory, your dog's not going to like running through that for a longer period of time, and will hopefully rethink, hey, I'm really not liking running through this area. And as if you keep having problems, you can either increase the correction here so that the dog's getting more of a correction or more of a, let's call it shock, or in the combination, you could also increase your range control so that your dog's receiving that higher correction for a longer period of time, in hopes that he or she's going to think twice about running through that because they have more distance to run through and receive that correction. So I hope that answers your questions with that. But you got to remember, if you do make this adjustment and you increase this range control, or even decrease it for that matter, but more importantly, if you increase it, you have to make sure that you replant your flags and move them to the new location. And the way you find that out is by taking your receiver out from the dog's collar, take it off of your dog, make sure your dog's inside the house or in the garage or put away somewhere, and then you hold it about the dog's head height, and you slowly walk into the zone until you hear it beep. And when you first hear it beep, that's where the dog is going to receive the correction at that first level. So that's where you want to plant your new flag. Again, I hope this answers all questions. Anything else, give me a shout. Brent at Buckeye Safe Pet. Take care.